50 FM 99.3 KNSI. Welcome to Taking You Home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate. It's here every Thursday morning at 7:23, Saturday morning at 7:50 on KNSI. Folks, remember, start your home search at VoigtJohnson.com. Heidi, I said vote, didn't I?
Yeah, it's all right.
No. Here we go. Folks, remember to start your home search at VoigtJohnson.com. Heidi Voigt, hello, good morning.
Good morning.
There is something that I've wanted to talk to you guys about for a long time, and that is like the American dream being alive and well, because I think it is, but I also think people need to kind of realize that fact, right? Because today's society, a throwaway society, hurry up, let's get this done, moving on to the next thing. It's like we have kind of lost touch with what is so important, home ownership.
Yeah, I think that there's so many distractions in the world that, one of the things that we forget to talk to, especially younger generations, is about wealth building.
Right.
And, there's going to be, some families and infrastructures that discuss that, but I think that a lot of our society is in a fight or flight mode generally, and they're just trying to make it paycheck to paycheck and those types of things. And, when it comes to home ownership, it is the most tangible way typical people that just go to work every week can build wealth.
Yeah.
And so there's some really good statistics that have indicated how the American dream is cemented in the whole concept of home ownership. The statistics just basically provide that if you're a renter, you're not building wealth, and if you're a homeowner, you are building wealth, even if you have the same income.
And it's the strangest thing because timing is so important. I finished off a basement. My house value goes up $20,000 in a week. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, when I think about the last 20 years where people are really, that was a thing. You'd buy a house with an unfinished basement.
Sweat equity.
Yeah, exactly. The trend that I'm seeing now, because there's just been less new construction type of builds, is that sweat equity is coming in the way of total renovation, or people, gutting houses or gutting certain areas and creating some of that equity. The immediate tangible way to build equity are the logical things of, paying down your mortgage faster, getting rid of property mortgage insurance, maybe making extra principal payments, those types of typical things. But the true way that you can really create value in your homes is by putting some work into it.
Exactly right. Now, sometimes people would say, and this is the way it was years and years ago, right? You'd buy that house in your 20s and you would die in that house.
Yeah.
These days, people are owning a lot more than just one home, aren't they?
Owning more than one home and actually just moving in a faster pace. I mean, people's jobs are switching. There's, we're a much more transient community as far as where we're going. People make decisions to buy a house in one spot and then decide they want to be in a different spot once they have kids. Just a lot of different variables that come to play. There are ways to improve on housing in a short period of time where we're seeing people live someplace 1, 2, 3 years, and they're able to walk away from that house and still bring some money with them.
Now, I know that you focus on home ownership, correct?
Yeah.
I know a fella who just bought some land last September, paid $22,000 for it, 5.5 acres.
Yeah.
His newest tax statement was the value was over 40. Okay, it's land, it's property, it's where it's at.
For sure. Land, in my opinion, will never go down. And I learned this a long time ago. I worked for a builder that had a lot of really good knowledge, and he had a farming background as well. And I just think about if you have a farm and you're going to sell acreage, and you sell it for a certain price per acre, even if the market goes down, your cousin that lives close to you that's going to sell that farmland is never going to sell it for less than the price per acre that the other guy got. I mean, it's just a thing. So, farmers and landowners have the ability generally to wait it out, and they're not making any more land. So it does nothing but appreciate, and it's just a timing game.
Okay, you have something here that I need you to explain. Do different price points gain equity differently?
Yes, and it's not something that people discuss very often, and it's really, it requires a little diving into what's happening in the market. But I think about one of my clients years ago, and they bought a house, and when they had sold the house, they, maybe pulled $20,000 out of it, and then they bought another house. When they went to sell that house, they had realized about $50,000 equity,
Right.
where the house that they had sold had maybe only gone up like 5 to 7,000 because they were in different price points. So I think that there are some price points that are going to appreciate at different times. Right now, the appreciating price point that is probably the most valuable are people that have purchased maybe for 150, 160, 170 in the past 3 years.
Right.
And we're seeing, valuations increase by 100,000, by 50,000. That is a really good price point, where that 300 to 450 range hasn't appreciated quite as much.
So the old adage, buy the worst house in the best neighborhood, put the sweat equity into it, you can sell it and gain the most money?
I don't know if I would call it the worst house. I think that you just have to pay attention to what the economy is doing
Okay.
and what the interest rates are. I mean, definitely building some of that equity based on something that needs work, because if you want to build equity, you can't buy the house that's completely finished
True.
and all polished up already. So you need to find the opportunity in that. But I do think that the big equity build, referring to your question, is more so what's going on in the market and what price points are going to gain value in the next couple of years.
All right, we only have about a minute left.
Yeah.
This is a tough one. How does home ownership contribute to wealth? How does that whole thing work?
Well, there's a lot of statistics relative to that, but the bare math on it is we all have a housing expense,
Right.
right? So you're going to pay rent or you're going to pay for a house. And so you decide, am I going to pay Mr. Landlord or am I going to pay myself? And so even if you're in a flat market or even a slightly decreasing market, which we haven't been in a long time, you are gaining equity without having to put money in a bank.
Well, home ownership allows you to pay yourself.
Yes, and the most interesting statistic with that is definitely people who have net household incomes of under 100,000. Those are the people that build the wealth fastest in home ownership.
That is a big chunk of society, folks. I hope you were listening.
Yes.
Heidi, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI, taking you home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate. Remember, Thursdays 7:23, Saturdays 7:50 in the morning. Start your home search at VoigtJohnson.com.